This week on Christian World News.
You can keep your Jesus and do what you want with that, but I'm over here and I'm going to do my thing for myself.
Meet the Olympic athlete who wanted nothing to do with God until failure forced him to his knees. Today, he's gained much more than gold. Plus, he is controversial, divisive, and disruptive. And he's running for the President of the United States. In a one-on-one interview with CBN News, Donald Trump admits, "I'm not perfect." And how a struggling businessman turned his company around by making investments in people. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Christian World News. I'm George Thomas. My colleague Wendy Griffith is on assignment. Well, the Olympic Games, as you know, are underway in the nation of Brazil, and the whole world is on hand to see athletes compete at the very highest level. Many, by the way, dream of bringing home the gold, but others have a higher goal in mind. When American diver David Boudia won silver this year, he told the world, quote, "My identity is in Christ." Well, it is an attitude that helped him win gold back in 2012. But 4 years later, his first Olympics was a very different story.
In 2008, if you would have asked me to sit down with the 700 Club, I would have been like, are you serious? Like, no way. Like, you can keep your Jesus and do what you want with that, but I'm over here and I'm going to do my thing for myself. It's crazy to think what God can do to someone who is so obsessed with himself, lay him flat on his face and say, David, you're not going to be the ruler of your life. Just looking back at when I had this dream of wanting to become an Olympian and that pursuit towards that goal, I tried to fill that with whatever I could because I thought ultimately this would bring me happiness and joy. And it was all for David's glory, all for what David wanted, and I didn't worship anyone else besides myself. Everything that I thought of, everything that I pursued was for my own gain. My first Olympic Games, I just realized that it wasn't working. There had to be something else besides this popularity or this pleasure or this desire that I had to be rich and famous that this American dream promised me. There had to be something more than that, and I didn't know where to find that. God changed my heart, and it was no longer, look at me, I'm the best. Trying to be a visible representation of an invisible God, that's not the David of 2008. God has redeemed me, and I've taken control of my life to do that for him on a platform that I never thought I would be at. The London Games was not a story I would have written whatsoever. Going into the finals, I was like the most nervous that I had been in a competition since I was 14 years old. And I spoke to a good friend of mine, and he said, David, what is there to be nervous about? And I was like, okay, what are you getting at? And he said, God has already written it. It's already done. What you get to do, what your opportunity is to be a vehicle for his glory. And so like instantly the weight was off of my shoulders. I just think of Philippians 4:6. It just talks about be anxious about nothing, but in prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. And that was totally my perspective that next day when I woke up was that. My 6 dives in those finals, I was thinking about 2 things. I had one thing to think about of my takeoff, so making it strong, and the other one was something my coach Adam Soldati and I kind of made up years before the Olympics, and it was 4-6. And it just goes back to Philippians 4:6. That's be anxious about nothing. I knew that I put down 6 dives, the best that I've ever done in a competition, and I got out of the water and I didn't care where I was finishing, whether I was 1st or 5th. I was content and happy because I knew I did my best. And I walked over to Adam, and he embraced me and hugged me, and I looked up and my name was first. One Chinese diver still had to go, and he hit the water, my name didn't change, and I still couldn't fathom, like, so my name's first, and there's no divers left. What? That means I won? And it's still a surreal moment to think back at that specific moment. Three months after the Olympics in 2012, I got married to my wife, Sunny, and then 2 years after that, we had our first child, Dakota. And so I get to be dad. I get to be David, the husband, and it's a totally different thing. God has grown me so much in my communication with my wife. First year after the Olympics, it was atrocious, just me trying to communicate and learn how to navigate marriage, and he's grown me in that so much, and then ultimately trying to raise a little girl that fears the Lord. The road to Rio leading up to that, I think God has changed me most at really wanting me to be responsible and to pursue excellence. Romans 8:28 says, God works everything for the good of those who love him, that are called according to his purpose. And that purpose isn't for my happiness and my joy. That purpose is so that I become more like Christ daily.
Wow, awesome truths. You can read more about David's story in his new book, Greater Than Gold. Find it wherever books are sold. And by the way, we have a special section featuring the faith of Olympic athletes on cbnnews.com. It's called Olympic Profiles in Faith. An international sports ministry is making the most of the Rio game. Athletes in Action has more than 100 multilingual staff on hand to minister to athletes and fans. Some are serving as chaplains to athletes in the Olympic Village, while others are having conversations with fans and giving away Bibles and other materials. One AIA official says when all those folks go home, the gospel seeds that have been planted will spread, including in nations that are closed to Christianity. Not all the ministry in Rio is happening at the Olympics. In fact, missionaries have been at work in the city's slums for decades. Latin America producer Javier Bolanos tells us about a woman who's bringing hope to children in one drug and crime-infested neighborhood, where she's changing lives for Jesus Christ.
Missionary Edmeya Williams walks the streets of Santa Marta favela in Rio de Janeiro, receiving hugs and affection. But at first, it was not so. She arrived 26 years ago when this was Rio's most violent place, a neighborhood known as a center of witchcraft. The police did not dare to enter here. In places like these, in front of the White Cross, human sacrifices were made. But Edmeya felt something special for the favela's children.
The main problem here is that the majority of the mothers are single mothers, because most of them, the husband is in prison. When they have the kid, they bring the kid to a crèche in the street. But the year for the kid to be 5 years old cannot go to the crèche anymore. And then this kid will be free in the favela, in the hands of everybody. And they begin looking to the bandits as the heroes.
That's how she founded the House of Mary and Martha, a project for child evangelism that offers physical, material, and spiritual support. Under the arms of the Christ the Redeemer statue here in Rio de Janeiro, the children in the Santa Marta favela struggle to survive. But at the feet of Jesus Christ, missionary Edmeya Williams and her team work hard to bring hope for these children. Wallace Pereira came to the House of Mary and Martha when he was a boy. Years later, after attending university, he came back, now as a teacher. Today, his daughter also studies here. I started coming to House of Mary and Martha when I was 4 years old. Then I continued my education outside the favela, but I kept contact with Edmeya. 2 years ago, she called me and I came back as a teacher. Edmeia's work has the financial support of several churches and ministries in Brazil. Victory in Christ Church sends her an offering every month. She is a woman that was carved for this job. God calls people with a vocation. Edmeia's work is highly respected here. Her work is admirable, so we help her because she is a serious woman who has a story, and that is very important to me. The missionary appreciates help, but she's sure that God provides supernaturally, and that's why her pantry is always full. Still, she has a special request.
My need, first of everything, is prayer, because I work under threat and in danger all the time, because I never know who is going to. I know that I have an adversary that wants to stop me, and I feel this every time. And I need prayer because I know that everything is possible in my life because there are people praying for me.
Javier Bolaños, CBN News, in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Coming up, freedom for American pastors. What Donald Trump wants to do to liberate preachers who've been muzzled by the government.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. 8 years ago, my husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphan's Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Inside every child is a hero, a leader, a friend to others, someone who helps out, who does the right thing, who dreams of what they can be, but they still need our help.
What should I do? What should I say? How should I feel?
That's where Superbook comes in. It provides moral and spiritual truths through situations children can relate to, teaching God's Word to the children you love. Join the Superbook DVD Club and receive Superbook's newest episodes as they're available, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25. Get Superbook today and watch the miracles happen.
And welcome back to Christian World News. Here in America, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump is courting Christians by promising to protect religious freedom. Recently, he spoke to hundreds of evangelical leaders in Orlando, Florida. CBN's Jenna Broder brings us that story, including her exclusive interview with the candidate, where he made a surprising admission.
How did it go in there?
I think it really went well. I think the people are fantastic. We had a record crowd of pastors, mostly pastors, and their families, and I think it went amazingly well.
Donald Trump courting Christians on the campaign trail.
So I had a long, beautiful speech written, and I read it. I said, boy, this is boring. This is not what we want to talk about. Because I know a lot of the pastors. I know some of the pastors in the room, and I refuse to put them to sleep, right?
In true Trump style, the Republican presidential nominee spoke off the cuff.
Did you notice I took the teleprompters down, right? I had teleprompters. No, I had a speech written by a professional, and I said, I'm not reading this.
The crux of his speech, repealing the Johnson Amendment.
If I get elected president, one of the early things, one of the absolute first things I'm going to do is work on totally knocking out the Johnson Amendment.
The 1954 amendment was created by then-Senator Lyndon B. Johnson. It limits the free speech of pastors, essentially threatening to take away a church or nonprofit's tax-exempt status for endorsing or opposing a political candidate.
They get absolutely hit with the 501c3, which is the tax-exempt status, which is a tremendous hit. I mean, it's a shattering hit. And it really keeps them silent. Free speech is being taken away from people that are great people, from people that are saying good things, not bad things. And if I can do that, I will have done a great thing for religion as a whole, and it's so important to me.
And Trump knows it's a major selling point to get Christians from the pews to the polls.
The words I said today are so important, and I was honored to get the kind of ovation I got. But they understand, and I think it'll be a tremendous achievement if we can get it done. And I know we'll get it done if we can get elected. That's why I say on November 8th, everybody has to get up and vote. Because 4 years ago, the evangelicals just didn't vote. Christians didn't vote.
Trump is trying to change that by speaking at events like this one and by showing a softer, more humble side.
In your RNC acceptance speech, it was a really endearing moment. You said you thanked the evangelicals for their support, but you said, I don't necessarily always deserve it. Why did you say that?
Well, because I think I'm not perfect, and because I think maybe I'm less perfect than some people, but I have certain abilities that are good, like being able to do things. And I think I'll be able to do things that will be really great for the evangelicals and for others.
His speech it came across as humble. It wasn't a campaign speech.
Donald Trump is not trying to be an evangelical preacher. I think what he's saying is he understands our problems, he understands our concerns, and he's going to be a champion for us.
I know when people don't like me, and that's okay. Either way, I'd prefer the liking, but sometimes it doesn't work out, no matter what you do.
But some are willing to look beyond that.
You know, a lot of Christians believe that you have been chosen for such a time as this. Do you believe that's true? And have you ever considered that maybe this is a divine calling?
Well, you know, I've heard that from others, and I've heard it from pastors. I've heard it from others, and I don't really even want to think about it because it's too big of a burden. But I can say this, that if I can do what I'm saying I can do, and I'm not only talking with the military and building it up and safety and security and, you know, because our country's in such bad shape in so many ways.
Divine calling or not, Trump says he is a friend to Christians.
And religious liberty, you talked about that some. You know, a lot of Christian business leaders are getting attacked, you know, because they don't want to support gay couples or they don't want to provide services. You've said in the past that you would defend these businesses. What would you do to protect these businesses?
Well, you know what I'm going to do? What I'm going to do to protect, and what I'm going to do, I think most importantly, is work on exactly what I talked about today. They believe so much in religious liberty, as I do, very much. Because without religious liberty, you don't have liberty. Okay, you don't have liberty.
And that's exactly what evangelicals want to hear. But Trump still has work to do. Most of these pastors are on board, but admit he wasn't their first choice.
Some of the things with Donald Trump, not sure exactly what we're going to get. We'll have to see. But with her, with Hillary Clinton, I know what we're going to get, and that just looks bad all across the board.
We can open up the voices of great people, the pastors and the ministers and the priests and the rabbis and people of religion. I think that will be something that I will be so proud of.
This was a move in the right direction for Donald Trump, but of course, only time will tell if it in fact translates in the polls. Reporting in Orlando, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Up next, meet the businessman who's not just turning a profit, he's changing people's lives.
God has a plan. God has a future and a destiny for every one of us. We need times of testing. You can't get strong without it.
I truly believe angels were there with me.
Are you willing to risk your pride and take a step of faith? See true stories of people who overcame impossible odds in victory through life storms. Available now.
God has a plan to do you good, not harm.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. 8 years ago, my husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphan's Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Kids, we want them to grow up knowing God's Word. But in today's busy world, sometimes we could use some help. The free Superbook Kids Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos,
Follow me.
discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available on iTunes and the Google Play Store.
And welcome back to Christian World News. When a Colorado business owner saw his company becoming stagnant, he wasn't sure how he was going to turn it around. But as CBN News contributor Stephanie Riggs explains, he found the solution by serving others.
L&R Pallet Company makes a simple product, but with a very important destiny. These pallets transport most of what we use every day, but they also serve an even greater purpose for second-generation business owner James Reuter.
We had a tremendous amount of turnover. We would go through years where we had 300% and 400% turnover. And that means you're hiring 6 to 10 people a week trying to staff a place. We'd reached a place in time where I felt this business couldn't grow, and it was from a staffing perspective. I couldn't see the possibility of expanding and taking on extra responsibility because we were having a hard time getting people to come to the front door. At the same time as God is working on me and tenderizing me, I decide to look at the refugee community as a possible source or a stream for employees.
From stagnation to a vibrant, thriving business that started with 7 refugees from Burma to now 81, and they are loyal, grateful employees. I think it's safe to say this pallet company has a new purpose. It's people.
What we decided to do by pouring into the people actually turned out to show up on the bottom line. Not only did our culture change, but profitability changed. It was a moment in time where I felt God kissed me on the forehead as a child of His and just said, "Silly little boy, that didn't just happen. You know, this isn't coincidence. I have my hand on you, and there's a plan." And it was very exciting to start to see my relationship with Him work that way.
L&R Pallet Company evolved into this factory of hope, filled with self-reliant, confident men and women who otherwise would be living in poverty.
I have been here about 1 year. I think about the opportunity here. The boss, they give us an opportunity. They let us people from Burma, so I love that. They pay a good money, so they give a good job. It's a good boss.
A lot of times business owners want you to leave your problems at home, give you a hard day's work, and leave. And I used to be that way. But now we actually encourage them to bring your problems and what don't you understand? What are you confused about? We bring in lenders and help them improve their credit, understand how to establish credit. We're helping them buy homes by getting them involved in the affordable housing programs here in Colorado. We are fumigating their houses for them because they're in low-income areas where they've got different kinds of bugs and stuff. And these are ministry opportunities for us to go in and do something.
So he take care about us, people from refugee camp. So we love him. I think about I'm working here for 30 years, maybe more than that.
What I started to do is pray to the owner of this company and say, "Lord, bring to my company who you want to work here, who you want to have refuge. I feel very blessed that the Burmese people have been introduced into my company, and I can go right outside my office door and impact families and lives and make a difference.
Reuter's father started this business in 1974. He had no idea it would become a place of refuge, producing more than these pallets, but people with hope. I'm Stephanie Riggs for CBN News in Denver.
Stephanie, thanks for that story. Encouraging to help folks who have gone through so much in life and come here seeking refuge and a better life, and in some cases, the American dream. Okay, when we come back, the story of an Olympic superstar who wanted to end his life and the Christian friend who stepped in just at the right moment. That story right after this. Stay with us.
CBN presents Victory Through Life Storms, the newest teaching from Pat Robertson.
You're about to meet people who've gone through some of the toughest struggles life had to offer.
The pain is something I just can't explain.
With 700 Club co-host Terry Mewson.
We all go through seasons of struggle in our lives.
I never wanted to be divorced.
They loaded me up on painkillers.
She said, "You are eaten up with cancer."
In Victory Through Life Storms, Pat Robertson will equip you with the tools you need to come through your personal storm victoriously.
In the midst of trouble, God isn't limited. It's such abundance.
See the stories of people who obtained their victory over seemingly insurmountable odds.
Take a step of faith. What he did for me, he will do for others.
Victory Through Life Storms.
Jesus said, look, all things are possible. Nothing's impossible. Nothing's impossible.
Available now.
To hit middle school and start having same-sex attractions was just very confusing because I had accepted the Lord when I was a little girl.
Right in the middle of this holiness code is a reference to homosexual practice.
I don't think Christians have anything to fear from research, from science done well.
They're like, oh, this is awful. You don't let him in the house, do you?
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
And finally on the broadcast today, at the Olympic Games in Brazil, U.S. swimmer Michael Phelps he just keeps adding gold medals to his trophy case. After the 2012 Games, he owned 18 golds, and you would think the man would lack for nothing. However, Phelps recently revealed that just 2 years ago, drug and alcohol-related problems brought on an identity crisis. He even considered taking his own life. But his friend, Christian NFL star Ray Lewis, stepped in with words of encouragement, and he gave him a copy of Pastor Rick Warren's book, The Purpose-Driven Life. Phelps read the book in rehab, and he told Lewis, quote, "It blew his mind." Phelps says the book showed him there was power greater than himself and a purpose for him on this planet. Awesome story. Well, folks, that's it for this week's edition of Christian World News. Until next week, from all of us here, goodbye and God bless you.